Just making my call in for my Bennies for Deadlands, and I'm also requesting on behalf of David and Melissa.
I have to preface the next set of calls. They are from BJ Boyd of the Arcane Alienist, and I had sent to his podcast a question about the show. Well, would it be cool to play in the universe presented in the show Reservation Dogs? And he answered really well, thoroughly, but he had some other things to say that he kindly sent to me as messages for this podcast. So you can hear some more BJ on Reservation Dogs, and then I'll reply or comment afterwards.
Hey, Carl, that's a great question. I think all things being equal, no, there wouldn't be problematic. I actually backed, supposed to go to print pretty soon and maybe be shipping in February on Kickstarter, a game called Coyote and Crow, which is a science fantasy role-playing game set in an uncolonized future. It's by all Native American authors, game designers, artists, and the idea is it's set in sort of a science fantasy future of, I guess, North America that had never been colonized by Europeans. But I don't think it was intended only for Native American people to buy and play, so I don't think there's any problem with that outside of the normal problems you might have of people trying to play people of a culture or ethnicity that they themselves are not belong to. Particularly when you talk about maybe trying to emulate Reservation Dogs, there's the kind of the human drama that takes place among the characters, which I think is relatable to anybody. But then there's definitely the characters occupy a very different mindset and very different reality than kind of non-native characters on the show. And I guess how much would you want to get into the social and political commentary? Because there is a sort of subversive, defiant, irreverent element to it's presented as humor, but it's kind of got some teeth, commenting about sort of the history of the United States and why Native people live in the conditions they live in now. And it's, I just think when the typical demographic of people who play the games we play are typically middle-aged white men, it can be a bitter pill to swallow, depending on your kind of opinions on those matters and how sensitive you might be to that matter. But, assuming everybody is a good sport about it and really tries to occupy and role play from the viewpoint of those kind of characters, I think you could do it. I think it would be an interesting. I kind of think what it would be like for me to try to play an Afrocentric game, and the kind of, I don't know, open-mindedness and flexibility I'd have to have, acknowledging that is not a culture or a worldview I belong to. But I don't think that's necessarily that you can't play in that kind of a game. It just might take a little careful planning, probably a pretty thorough session zero up front. Anyway, if I have some other thoughts, I'll let you know.
Hey, BJ. Thanks for the calls. Again, listeners, you could hear another set of responses to this question that I asked to BJ on the Arcane Alienist on his podcast that he put out today, October 4th. And check it out there. Yeah, I really want to explore this, and I left you a couple messages on your podcast talking about this and where we could do or where we could put it. It could even be one of the add-ons that Tales from the Loop had, if we decide to use Tales from the Loop or Things from the Flood, is Lake Mead, and that could definitely be a better area for a more heterogeneous group of heroes, as opposed to the Swedish version, right? So I think it'd be pretty neat. And what's interesting is I feel like Tales from the Loop explores the human condition, what the kids see, what problems they might have, how they overcome them. It could be a good exploration. I mean, I don't know if it's too far of a stretch to say it could be a teaching tool to present to our fellow players common themes of what it could be like in those types of, in a disenfranchised group, or a group that feels itself marginalized. I think it would be worth it, but it definitely takes a certain type of group to want to explore that, and then to enjoy that. And I think we have a good core group of friends who we play, and it would be definitely worthwhile.
Hey, Carl Rodriguez of the GMologist presents. I would have to tell you that if you look in ICRPG Master Edition, there's no mention of the OGL. It's its own game, so I'm not sure quite what you're referring to. There are changes to it, some of which, all of which may be for the better, some of which are things that I might not personally use or personally like. But the nice thing is, it's a toolkit. So all it is a more complete toolkit. So it's not a game where you have to use everything in the book, and the book is sacrosanct. It's a toolkit. You take what works for your campaign and you leave the rest. If you want to add things that aren't in the book, you can do that too. So it's for a more mature gamer, unlike kiddie games where you have to do exactly what the book says, no matter what.
I misspoke. It looks like ICRPG is not based on the OGL, so the kiddie game that you play and talk about a lot is the Black Hack. The Black Hack is your kid's game.
And with that, I will bid you adieu, and hopefully I will get to speak to you on Thursday night. Or should I say, I'll speak to Marcus with a K.
If I hadn't gone back and looked at your show notes, so I stopped listening to your latest episode when you started the spoiler-filled solo play with all the murdering of children in it. But I didn't know there was stuff after that. When I looked at the show notes, I realized maybe there were other calls after that, and I had to figure out and play with to figure out where that ended. If you put a timestamp in there where people could start listening again, that might be helpful to listeners in the future. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Jason, thanks for that recommendation. I bracketed now that segment with timestamps so people can go back to, I think it's episode 55, and skip that if they were wary about not knowing where it started and stopped. Though I guess if you look at the individual segments, you might be able to figure it out. But if people are not looking at the segments and they're just listening to it, right, they can skip from 651 where you have the boom sound. And I think the train sound is the one that is on the other end. So there you go. Thanks for the recommendation, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch actual plays or Twitch or any of that stuff either, but if I buy an adventure and I get around to it, I'll read it. But, I mean, a lot of the adventures that are on your GM bucket list are old adventures, which are why I've read them, right? Masks and Enemy Within and Orient Express, and these are all old. Well, even Dracula Dossier I had bought before I knew I knew guys, and so I'd read through it. So Dracula Dossier isn't that old, but I have read that. But the old classics, I just think it's precarious to run those. I mean, you can run them, I think, and it would work fine. Players can you can separate player knowledge and character knowledge, and I think it'd be okay. But I don't know. I think Children of Something sounds like a safer bet.
Hey, Carl, I'm just listening to your responses to Jason where you're talking about kind of having to poll your players beforehand to make sure they haven't, if you're going to run a published scenario or module, that they haven't already ran it or watched it or read it or whatnot. And I actually sometimes can't believe Wizards of the Coast allows anyone to live stream their their published adventures. I get that it's a good, probably marketing and promotional tool, but if you or I were to just take pictures right out of those books and put them up on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, we'd probably get a cease and desist at the very least. And I guess if you recount like I am on my podcast and I say spoiler warnings, I guess that's not much different than a live play, maybe. I don't know. It's just weird to me that Wizards kind of just lets anybody do that, though.
Here's some comments on my query from the last episode about all these pre-published adventures and the danger of them because they are the subject of a lot of actual play on Twist and YouTube. And is that good for the hobby? And so Jason he says he could probably be okay playing games that he's read or seen before. Usually, most of the time, I don't think Jason listens to actual plays, but he does read through them. And sometimes you remember, sometimes you don't, right? So, and BJ is making a point, right? If we were to put copies of, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight or whatever other adventure from Wizards that has just come out, we would get a cease and desist, right? But it looks like the actual play on Twitch or whatever, maybe they send people advanced copies and they want them to play them as kind of an advertisement. I'm not sure. Maybe it is part advertisement. So I just saw something on a Kickstarter. I'll read it if I can find it. And the author says, in other news, I'm going to run a 12-episode campaign of Temples and Tombs on the Happy Jack RPG Stream and Podcast. So he's telling the people who've invested in the Kickstarter, you finally get a chance to see a full campaign AP, and I can't wait. It's looking like we'll start blah, 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 but I'll keep you posted. So it looks like they're going to run one of the campaign adventure paths that they may have published or may publish in the future as an actual play. So maybe it is an advertisement for them. I'm not sure. I know. Yeah, I mean, if you watch an actual play, it is kind of like a hint. It's like you're getting the strategy, I think. Maybe. So then that is why I think it is important maybe to pull. So, hey, have you watched, and have you watched this on YouTube or Twitch? Have you watched this adventure? Have you seen it being played or what have you? And it also probably, like Jason said, maybe it's better to just be your own creative. Like, while I'm taking snippets here and there from DCC adventures and from the Echoes from Falmahalt publications, it's not like an adventure path. It's not strung together. Likely will not be an actual play. And then with other games I've had, like Broken Lands, sure, I take things here and there, but they're old enough that they won't be an actual play. And maybe people have forgotten about reading them, or they're just things I make up on my own. Or like in the case of Deadlands, they are. I mean, while the one that I ran, Burning Kansas, was from a Twitch stream. Other times for the Deadlands group on Sunday, I just draw cards and see what the adventure comes up with, or what the cards come up with to inspire an adventure. So maybe that's the way to go. But we'll see. And thanks for the questions and queries. If we get more, I will add to this. If I get more comments on that point prior to publication, I will add another segment. Hello. I'm going to do an unboxing because I like to do unboxings, and they seem to be fun. I get comments back, or jokes, which are even better. So this package I have is a mailer, an eBay mailer, and it is it's probably about 12 inches by 8 or so. It looks like I might have to use my box cutter. Anvil is taking a break. This one has no name. It is just a black generic box cutter, but pretty sharp. I'm cutting it like this is that rubbery-ish material. And inside it is packaged in like a cardboard, a layer of cardboard to protect it. Guess I don't mind paying that extra. And they ship like that and it's extra. Alright, it's a little challenging to get this out of the eBay slipcase or eBay package material. And then, like I said, it's in between two pieces of cardboard and some newspaper to protect. And nice, it is 2 supplements. Look to be in good shape for Twilight 2000. I got Gateway to the Spanish Main and Urban Guerrilla. So Gateway is it is like sail on a replica of the USS Constitution, built in 1987. A replica built by a movie studio, and it involves kidnapping, piracy in the Caribbean islands in what was once called the Spanish Main. So it does look pretty cool. Let's see what kind of, it has a big map of the Grenada is on here. Maybe you sail to Grenada, Curacao. That's pretty cool. So Gateway to the Spanish Main. Guess it involves treachery, kidnapping, piracy, which might be kind of neat. Map of Grenada and Curacao, descriptions of the villages, and deck plans for the Constitution. Urban Guerrilla is a module for Twilight 2000. Takes place in Central Florida. Oh man, so they have a Texas one, and this one is a Central Florida one. So I think that's kind of neat. So we see what kind of maps it has in here. Oh, it has a map of Tampa and surrounds, Tampa Bay and environs, West Central Florida. What if you get to go to Disney World? That might be interesting. So then it looks like, what else is in here? The Land Part 2. So pretty cool. So it is basically Tampa and West Central Florida. St. Petersburg is there. So, so apparently Central Florida has been controlled by something called the New America, members of the natural aristocrats of St. Petersburg. So I guess the players get to infiltrate that, which is kind of cool. So two fun sets of adventures and series modules for Twilight 2000 that take place in North America to add to my collection. Awesome. I got another unboxing. Anvil felt neglected, so I brought out that box cutter. And I got 2 packages today. One is from Lightning Source, so that means, Drive-Thru RPG. Printed me something. Hopefully it turned out nice. Slide it out. Very nice. It is the print copy of the Broken Earth Savage Worlds game. Pretty cool. I hope it's the right one. Seems like the PDF was bigger, but we'll check it out when we look at the table of contents. No. Looks like it's got everything there, which is cool. It's got several plot points. It's got, what I liked is that it's got a lot of good game master tools, not just character creation and all that, but sets up a community for the players, that they, as their home base that they wander from, and then it has various plot points for locations around their home base. So it's kind of cool. So it really looks neat. It's black and white. The art is pretty evocative of the genre. I was scanning through it, and I do see some decent cartography. And I do have to say, what I thought was kind of cool. So it takes place, like around the present day of Chicago, and Taylor of Cleric's World Ringmail, he posted somewhat facetiously a map of all the trains in Illinois, the train tracks or train lines in Illinois, and I'm gonna take that and overlay it onto here. So then there's like the remains of these train tracks, and they might be probably used still as tracks or trails along, here in the Broken Earth wilderness. So pretty cool. Broken Earth, Savage Worlds. And also I collect post-apocalyptic games for some weird reason. I'd like to definitely play more. And this one is sort of the, seems like it's a, what happens? I don't know, I haven't read What Happens, but it seemed like a combination of climate catastrophe and war and disease. So we'll see. The cool thing about this particular product, Broken Earth, is that you do have mutants and you do have, psionic powers as one of the arcane backgrounds. So kind of a more, what we think of cartoony, post-apocalyptic as opposed to realistic post-apocalyptic, and not aliens, but nukes and the like. So there you go, Broken Earth. Maybe coming to a Savage Worlds table near you. Maybe not. Last unboxing for this episode, I promise. Though you never know, I might get another package today by the end of the day, or tomorrow before I publish this. So this package is a UPS Media Mail box. That is a pretty good size, it looks like the 10 by 17 by 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep. And it is from Nord Games LLC, Kobold Press in Watsonville, California. I think that might be near RictorCon, or RictorCon 22X will be taking place. I don't know. Sometimes I don't listen to all those advertisements when they come on other people's podcasts. I wonder if there's a way to have them sponsor me. Anyway, it is from Kobold Press, Nord Games. I have an idea what it is. Let's open. Oh, I'm surprised it is actually multiple books. Oh. Nice little postcard that says, "Is something wrong or missing? Let us know. Support at nordfulfillment.com." What do we got? Holy crap, I didn't think that was that big of an adventure. We got a bunch of things in here I'm ripping apart. 3 books, it looks like. From probably from a Kickstarter. I like Kobold Press. I usually do their Kickstarters, and I usually do them in print. Well, I think the last one, their Heroes book, I think I just stuck with the PDF. We'll see. I'm running out of shelf space. So we got 3 things. The Southlands World Book, which I have for a previous edition. I think I have it for, did they do Pathfinder or 3.5? The Southlands Player's Guide, which is really nice. Updated for 5e. And the City of Cats, a city book and adventure. And I thought this was going to be like a small thingy, but it's like it's a 150-page tome of the City of Cats, which is kind of neat. And it looks like it has an adventure as well as a gazetteer for the City of Cats. Pretty excited. The player's guide clocks in at around 78 pages or so, and it has all the different major races you can play. Catfolk, dwarves, gnolls, humans, djinn-born, minotaurs, of course, Tusculi. I think Tusculi are like insect types. And then there's minor races, Heru, lizardfolk, Ramag, Subek, and Trollkin. Different backgrounds, character options. It looks like a good number of different options for character creation that are very thematic for the different type of character classes. New backgrounds, of course, kind of neat. Always really good production. I definitely enjoy it. Been wanting to run in Midgard a 5e game. I don't know why it's such a hard sell. I think everyone loves the Forgotten Realms, but I do like Midgard. The main book itself is about 312 pages, and it's got it's a gazetteer. It looks like mostly so everything, all the player stuff is in the player's guide. Although it does have a gazetteer of all the different regions, the gods of the Southlands, and big movers and shakers, magic items. So pretty cool. So nice pictures. It's interesting. I mean, I feel like the picture and the style is more akin to what you would find in Pathfinder than in the WotC D&D books. And I love the cartography because it's like realistic to me, if that makes sense. It's not cartoony. It has topography. It looks like a real map you might find or see. So pretty cool. All right. To add to my collection, I like the purple spines too on the books to delineate them from the other Midgard offerings. But yeah, I have like Empire of the Ghouls, and I have the Scarlet Citadel, so like a mega dungeon for 5e, and then Empire of the Ghouls is an adventure path. And I know Empire of the Ghouls goes into the Southlands in at least one of the adventures. So pretty cool stuff. I'm very excited. I really gotta push, I guess. Next 5e game is going to be in the Southlands, unless it's a continuation of an already existing game. But we'll see. I mean, like my wife and I and a couple of other friends helped to play test Empire of the Ghouls, and it was kind of cool to do. So we had a good time. And we placed it to some other things for Scarlet Citadel, a couple things, and they had made a call out for playtest for the Heroes book. But I just didn't. I don't feel like I have the time right now. So yeah, I like Kobold Press. I mean, back in I feel like graduate school, I don't think, and postdoc was so busy that I didn't really do a lot of creative. But I know during graduate school, I made some contributions to some of Kobold Press's stuff. So yeah, I got some writing credit somewhere, believe it or not. So anyway, I will thank you for listening to my unboxing and my rambling and praise of Kobold Press, and I will talk to you soon. It wouldn't be a proper podcast without a couple more recaps. So I played 2 games on Sunday. The first game was a playtest of the game called DEX, which it looks like it's going to be a fantasy game, and it is a game that is being developed by Darren Green, who is also called Arfed on the Audio Dungeon Discord. And I played Dar the Barbarian. And the really unique, and I would say cool thing about this game is you don't roll dice, you draw cards. You have a set of stats, 4 stats. I believe there's like strength, agility, mind, probably something to do with personality. And you rate them. You're given a couple points to rate them. And then you pick some skills that give a bonus here or there, or an extra draw on a card here or there, which I think is pretty streamlined. And it's a good mechanic. There's not a lot of a lot of complexity, which I think is great at the tabletop to play, and it runs really well. We ran a short scenario where we had to find the wife of our dying lord who had been kidnapped in the woods. So we started tracking them down, and we had an encounter with some, what would we fight first? We fought a bear first while we were camping, just to test the mechanic on multiple creatures on one, and it's really neat. The characters that played, I played with another player, and our characters were both wearing heavy armor, which kind of hinders us, gives us a penalty, right? So like heavy armor will give you a penalty, say on things that have to do with agility. And also what's very interesting is Darren wanted to switch up, right, dump stats, or make it so that if you do dump stats, it might be a problem. So like we're not very smart, and initiative is based on mind. So we have like one less, or we have a disadvantage on the draw. So we pick 2 cards and take the lowest. And what I think is neat is in this game in general, you can count cards. So, you have cards in the deck that you've drawn, whether you've, high or low. Like for initiative, if we draw some high cards and we can't use them, then the next time we're able to, there are points during a conflict where you can reshuffle your cards. So you can count cards, and, you probably don't want to reshuffle if you have a lot of low cards on the table because you have high cards. But if you have a lot of high cards on the table, it might be beneficial for you to reshuffle before your next round. So I think it's a pretty neat mechanic, and it's all player facing. So we draw to defend and we draw to attack. So we defeated this bear rather handily. I think we rolled some high cards to hit, and it never could hit us in our heavy armor. It's if we roll low card, and I like too also, it's not always high card wins. When you're defending, you don't want to draw low because then you take damage. So you want to draw higher, and then you can get, like if you defend and you get a 1, that's a critical failure on your part. So they get to do a bunch of damage to you, which I think is kind of a neat way to go. So we fought, this bear. We defeated it. Then we crossed a bridge, and these flying creatures with big eyes attacked us while we were in the middle of the bridge. And I think it was kind of cool. It worked pretty well. Initiative works pretty well. It looks like you have a move and an action in the action economy, which I like. I don't know if he's codified like things that could be considered quick actions, like drawing a weapon. I don't know if action is just an action, but it looked like we could move, and that move was based on your armor, more or less, kind of hankering back to like a BX old school type of idea. No armor is really fast. Light armor is not as fast, and heavy armor is kind of slow. So, we defeated these creatures. There was no mishaps on the bridge, although another thing that Darren does is he throws like environment or mishap cards within your decks during an encounter, which is kind of interesting too. So you draw that, and then it procs an event to happen, like the bridge breaks or you fall off the bridge or something like that. So that's kind of neat too. I like that idea. After that, we ran into some bandits, and this was supposed to be a social encounter, but we're not a bunch of talky, thinky people, at least in the group. And it didn't go so well. We didn't get to a fight, but they didn't like us, so we move on. And Darren said we could have gotten like some loot from them because it would have been friendly, but he still feels like he has to work out like the social stuff, and he just wanted to kind of test it out. Again, it's a play test. And then and what I think is neat too, it's drawing cards, so I feel like it's a little faster, it seems. Even though you do every round for initiative, and then you draw cards, 1 or 2 or 3, and then we used tabletops. I think we used Tabletopia as a tabletop simulator, which is nice. It lays out the cards on the deck for you, so that worked really well. I don't know how other virtual platforms would work or not, but Tabletopia or a tabletop, more of like a board game simulator would work, I think, because you can have multiple decks of cards, and he was able to it looks like he imported maps from various places and could flip them over, and like tiles. So it looks like it has a cool tile feature. So I really like how the virtual looked, and it did not hinder gameplay at all. In fact, it facilitated it. Darren did a really great job running, and the pacing was good. So the last thing we ran into was actually, we did get some information that the wife of one of the people in the group had also been kidnapped, and they went that away. So we went that away, and we found the bandits' keep. There was a sentry, and it was tenuous because we shot at him with surprise but missed, but got the jump on him somehow and took him down before he raised the alarm. It looks like we were really good at sneaking. Darren had an interesting trap mechanic. He said he didn't like the idea of, every single square you got to check and you have to declare. So, just if you have that ability or you're in the front, you say, hey, draw some cards, or he'll draw some cards and see if the event happens or not. But we were able to stealth through. We took out some guards in a barracks, and then we found the big chamber, and there was some sort of ritual going on. There was like some leader or priest chanting and a bunch of other ne'er-do-wells and bandits, and we went at it to them. And so here's one of the cool things that happened and why the cards are so fun is that, I think even though I draw 3 cards and take the lowest I rolled twice was a 14, or drew twice was a 14. So I had shuffled my cards in between when I could, just to get all the high cards back in. And I won initiative twice and wrecked a lot of stuff. And it was really fun. We got to play with some gang up mechanics as well. My character can mitigate the gang up danger that seems to exist in the game. We defeated these bandits, and this leader rescued our ladyship. And in a follow-up, we would have gotten some treasure because we found some treasure chests. And I think, I don't know if he's developed campaign play. I think it's still in playtest phase. So I think if we playtest this again, it'll be at a higher level. But it would be neat to understand how campaign play works and experience works in this game. But all in all, a good time. If you have an opportunity to playtest decks, I recommend it. The other game I played was a D&D 5e game called Down and Out in Precinct 6, and it is set in the world of Ravnica, which is really cool. If you play Magic the Gathering, or used to play a long time ago, then Ravnica is one of the myriad of worlds in the Magic the Gathering saga. And I play a Minotaur named Trovik, and he is a Path of the Berserker Minotaur, 5th level. He is of the Gruul clan, Burning Tree faction of the Gruul clan, or Burning Tree tribe of the Gruul clan, because I think they're more tribal. But we're investigating the awakening or appearance of this tower that's down in the bowels underneath the world city of Ravnica. And we've traveled. It's a council of many of the different guilds decided to send representatives of each of the guild, and we have a good representation of each guild in the group. Not all of them, because I think there's only four, maybe 5 players at a time. So we haven't encompassed all of the guilds as players, but they're representatives in the group. They're a bunch of NPCs who sort of fill out the missing guild mates or guild members, or members of the different guilds. So all are represented. There's definitely some infighting between guilds. Some guilds don't want this thing open, some do. The last time we did open it, and these creatures appeared that seemed to be guardians of the gate. They had many arms and were shrouded, and they shot lightning. And actually, last time one of the player characters shot lightning at it, not intuitively guessing that maybe lightning, if they used it, probably didn't affect them, and he healed it. So that maybe he's a spy, though. Maybe he did it on purpose. Maybe he knew. I don't know. Anyway, we fought them. We paused mid-fight last time and picked up in the fight this time. And we did defeat them. My character, can go into a rage, so he can mitigate a lot of damage. And we took him down with a combination of spellcasting and attacks and some choice times of healing by we have 2 healers in the party, which is nice because I can stand there and hack at things and hopefully get healed and mitigate some damage. So then we fell back. The guild group had a meeting, took a little break, so we got our little short rest. I healed up some with one of my hit dice, as you can do in 5e, and then we went in, and it looks like the way that opened led to this large room that seemed to be like a killing box of some sort, but nothing attacked us. There were ways to go up and down. We decided to go up. We got a clue to go different directions. It seemed like there was representatives of the 3 guilds whose symbols were on the gate or the doorway of this tower. So one of the players interacted with like a ghost or spirit that was here in this tower, and we got clues to a he and a she and something else that controlled or ran the tower. So we decided to go up. When these creatures had attacked us, gates of the Guardian had attacked us before. They had kidnapped members of the big platoon that had arrived here. So some of the representatives of the different guilds were missing. That actually, one of the guilds, I think it's Rakdos, it's like 2 of them, the big ogre who carries around a sorceress of some sort. And the sorceress was kidnapped, and the ogre was freaking out. And actually, it was a good thing. It's one of the players kind of calmed him down, so now he's following that player around, at least until we can find his charge. So anyway, we find out some information from this spirit guide, and then we decided to go up, and another group decides to go down. We felt that that's where we would find our people that had been kidnapped. So we go to this room with a big carpet of fungus. The big ogre gets kind of charmed or starts hallucinating, and some of the players are a little affected, but my character is not. However, when we get close to this carpet of fungus, it forms a big ball of fungus that attacks us, and it's slow going, not because it's doing a lot of damage, especially since my character rages again, but because it seems to mitigate damage as if it were raging, like a berserker. So my hacks weren't as effective, but people did shoot, lightning bolts and fire and holy flame, sacred flame at it, and it slowly we dispatched it. I had to get healed up a little bit, but that was cool too. So, there's a lot of good action economy, I feel, in 5e. I guess what I'm not a biggest fan of is these at-will cantrips, because it seems when people can't figure out what to do, they just cantrip after cantrip after cantrip, and I guess I could be just the same as boring as what I do, which is hack with a great axe twice. If I will use my horns, or maybe I will use my great axe if I want a frenzy. I don't have a lot of decision, but I'm fine with that. But I think if I were a spellcaster, I'd try to vary it more. But then again, you have that sort of resource management idea where you don't want to blow out your big spells right away, and I guess that's why you do Sacred Flame, or I think it was Death. There's one that Paladins cast that's like Death Toll or something like that, or Warlocks cast the Eldritch Blast. I mean, it's like but one button push, right? One button push. So I'm not a big fan of that, but hey, it does help. I guess if wizards or other spellcasters did not have that, they'd be done, after especially low level, done after a fight or two, right? So I guess it has its benefits. Who knows? Maybe other games, I'm not sure, have a better way of doing cantrips, or you can vary your cantrips. But I think you can do that, and I'm not sure. I don't know can't remember if you could do that in 5e. But it might be like when you get to a certain level, your cantrip gets better, potentially. I know that in Pathfinder 2, you can put more power into your cantrip, and they can be more powerful than a normal spell. So there you go. Anyway, we defeated this creature and kept going, and then we got to the top, and it looked like, I guess we feel like this is some sort of vehicle that was underwater a long time. That's the conclusion we were coming to. But we got to the top, which looked like the way to pilot this quote-unquote vehicle tower thing, and we found the people were all kind of in a, catatonic state, and we couldn't revive them. And it looks like now we have to go down into the basement to see what's controlling them or keeping them in this state. So that'll happen in a while. This is a game run by Kevin Madison of the Dungeon Musings Media Empire, and he's going on vacation, so it'll be like a month before this plays again. So there you go. Down and Out under Precinct 6.